a video tour for 1100.5 Connecticut. Here is a view of the front of the property. And one of the interesting things about this property is the front door doesn't actually face Connecticut. As you can see, Connecticut is running this direction and intersects with 11th Street. So the front door actually faces 11th, even though the address is 1100.5 Connecticut. There's vinyl siding on the external of this property, and you can see they've got a pretty decent deck on the front of it. The roof is 3D composition, and it's a little bit hard to tell from this angle, but there's definitely a bit of a hump in this roof area here. Okay, so moving to the side, I'm at the side of the house because I really want you to see the foundation. So it is an old stone foundation, and you can see in a couple places where it's cracked through the foundation, but it also has kind of a bit of a wave to it, and then there's this bulge. So this section of the foundation is bulged out, which again, a little bit hard to see on the video. But this helps a little bit from this angle. You can see how it's bulged there, which is kind of strange for the foundation, and I would say is indicative of some amount of foundation issues. So you have a little bit of parking here on this side of the property, and just for reference, we're on the east side of the home. There is a dirt alleyway that runs on the east side for the parking. Okay, so we're gonna walk into the backyard. As you can see, there's a fence that has fallen down here, and so I'm just gonna step in between this area. You have a pretty minimal yard, hence the address being 1100.5 Connecticut, so you're sitting on a much smaller plot. As you can see, you've got a cute little garage type or storage type situation here, and it's just a little cinder block room that it looks like they're utilizing for storage. Okay, so on the back of this house again, just little bit nicer air conditioning, but definitely a bit of a lean going on with the foundation, and you can see where the stairs have cracked away, and they've like tried to fill it with some type of quickcrete situation due to the gapping of that settling. So around on the back side of the house, there's some rust going on the edge of the roof line here, just above the gutter. And you've got a cinder block foundation on what looks like this extension to the house, whereas the rest of it was the old stone foundation. What I want you to see is you've got a big gap in the cinder block here. And so there's definitely some movement that's happened in this foundation. So we're gonna walk back around to the front of the house and go through the front door. I do want to point out where they've done kind of some messy patchwork around the windows, and again, you've got vinyl casing going on around the windows, and I imagine that patchwork is just to prevent water intrusion. Okay, so up the stairs and headed towards the front door. You actually have two entrances into this property, which is not entirely uncommon. And you can see a cracked window pane in the one to my right, but we're gonna walk into the front door, which brings you directly into the kitchen. The kitchen has a tile floor with a matching tile backsplash, and they've used that same tile on the counter, which is interesting. You can see a very large crack that has come through the middle of this tile even, which is really intense for a tile to crack all the way through like that. So it looks like a little tiny maybe breakfast nook on the front of this kitchen. And then you can see the cabinetry they have painted black. And you've got that same, they just used the tile and transferred it onto the counter. You've got a vinyl double case or double pane sliding window here and paneling in the majority of this kitchen. I do want to point out again just some issues with flooring separation here, and you can see a crack that's running along the top part of this wall in the kitchen and down this corner. Okay, so we're going to go through the kitchen and onto the added on section of this property that we saw in the back that has the cinder block foundation, and that is where your laundry room is located. So this is laundry. The ceiling is pretty low in here. I mean, I would say at the lowest point it might be 6 feet. You do have a half bath off the back here. And again, with a little bit of a sliding window. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a full bath, but look how narrow this entranceway is. I mean, I can't even walk down this without both of my shoulders touching on either side of that opening. And then you've got a shower here, but I can't even pull back any farther to show you a better angle because my back's completely against the wall right now. Okay. Coming back out of that bathroom, you have access to the cellar basement through this built-on section. So we're gonna go down into this basement. The stairs are not an equal rise and run. They've clearly moved a lot. And you can see, again, just a big bulge in this wall that has made this stairway, I mean, jut in this direction. Okay, so down here we are in the cellar basement, and you can see that they have patched a lot of the old stone walls to kind of make it a little bit cleaner. But the foundation has since moved since they patched this because, again, pretty big bulge. I mean, look how big this bulge is in this back wall here. And you can see that it's caused this whole section of patchwork to crack from the pressure. Okay, so view of the water heater. The ceiling down here is probably 5.5 feet. And then obviously there are places where I have to duck underneath some of the venting that's going on down here. So here is a really good angle of that huge wall bulge. That's really intense. And you can see what it's done to the stairs. Okay, so walking back up into the house proper now. Okay. So headed back towards the kitchen, and I'm going to turn to my right, and it's going to head into the living room. So this is the living room space. There are a lot of really interesting, like it looks like they put all of the electrical plugins kind of chained together here on top of the floor instead of like in an actual wall, which is a bit strange that they're all just kind of like sitting here on the floor. I mean, it's attached, but okay. So living room space, and off of the living room is going to bring you into a second living room space. So remember that second entrance door in the front. This is where that second entrance door comes into. So there was that second door. And just a little bit of storage here underneath the stairs. All of the windows look to be newer. They're all vinyl and double pane, so definitely newer than the property itself. So we're going to head up the stairs now into the second level of the home. So wood floors throughout the property. And this second level is really pretty interesting. This is super low. I probably would not, you have to grandfather that into code just because that railing is really, really low. You can see out onto the roof, you have a 3D composition roof, which looks okay overall, but quite a bit of debris on top of the roof because you do have some older, mature trees overhanging the house. Okay, so this is your first real legitimate bedroom. And the ceiling in here is not completely even. At its highest point, it might be 8 feet, but then you can see that it juts down here, and at this lowest point, it's probably maybe 5.5. Okay. So, headed back towards the stairs, and now I'm walking towards the back of the house for reference. And so this area that I'm walking towards is south. The south section of the house. So, little bit of a weird area here. That's again just a little storage. You have a bath up here, and I do want to point out that it is, an actual bathtub and a shower, but they're like separate locations, which is a bit strange. And again, with just kind of like a weird ceiling line that comes down on one side. Okay, so the other bedroom out here to my right. This is the other bedroom, and there's a bit of a sag in this floor here in the middle. You can see where, some of the flooring is kind of like popped out here. A little bit of what looks like an attic access, but that's a super small access. I don't even think I could fit in there. And this is the view out the back of the property, looking at your neighbor's garage here, and here is the garage storage that we were looking at earlier. So again, a little bit of separation happening with this baseboard away from the wall. Okay, that's it. Let us know what you think.